Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to this very special Halloween stream. So I am Not Queen, lead community manager on Dead by Daylight, and with me there is.
Hi, I'm not Matt. I'm the game director.
All right,
Can I
and
get it?
I
I'm
guess
not petting Justin. I'm petting Coop.
I thought you were gonna point to me, but I'll take Gab's point. So I'm Justin. I'm one of the product managers on Dead by Daylight, working on events and the archives.
perfect intro. Thank you.
Hi,
Um,
Justin.
Hi Justin. So we do have two small announcements. There are Halloween contests right now that are open. So artwork, um, cosplay, and decoration. However, we did hit a little hurdle with shipping for pricing, so there was a little change in the rules. So just make sure you check the rules before you participate.
I
All
cannot
participants
wait to see what crazy people have come up with this year.
will also have some special stuff coming on social media, so keep an eye out. But we're not saying more than that.
Okay.
All right. Okay, Matt. Well, let's start with you.
Okay.
What are you coming to talk to us about today?
Today I'm gonna answer some questions about licensing, which is
Oh my
uh,
God.
always very delicate to talk about. So I like it because it's a challenge in linguistic gymnastics. Because I try to be as transparent and open about the process as I can, but they are very delicate conversations, and there's a lot of confidential things in there. So we need to be discreet, but still, I'll try
All
to
right.
open up and share as much as I can.
So, we have a bunch of questions for you. So I'll ask questions, and you tell me if you need too much gymnastics to go around them.
Okay.
All right. So the first thing is, who contacts who? So do we reach out to people, or do they come to us? Like, how does that work?
It it depends. In some cases, it was us, internally thinking. We have a list, a wish list, and then we go, okay, who owns this one? And a lot of these things, especially when you're talking about movies and TVs or legends, like characters that have been seen in many different forms, there are many different avenues to go about finding them. There are weird roundabout ways to get a hold of a character. And there are many different actors involved in this. Either agencies, sometimes it's agencies that just manage a catalog of different characters, and they sort of represent the owners. And sometimes it's the owners directly. Sometimes it's the movie studio. Sometimes it's the author. So it's very complex. A lot of the times, it's us trying to reach out to them. But as time goes by, and as the notoriety of Dead by Daylight grows, and we it started as a showcase, and for us to be able to invite grand, amazing characters into the game. Now it became a couple of years ago. We started saying this is the place where all of horror lives. Nowadays it's been described as the Hall of Fame of horror. So it's a very different negotiation position. So now we get actually poked by it. Happened actually very lately. Uh, we get poked by some people who own very important and exciting licenses, and they go, you know what? We think our characters would be great in your game, and so that's fun. That's fun when it happens.
All right. What kind of things do you have to agree on? Like how the characters will look, or how the characters and perks will play? Like, is that even owned by us? Like, how do we manage all this?
It it's different for each one. Usually, the things that are universal are there's always an approval. So the final word is always with the owners of the license, and that's absolutely fine. It means that we create characters, we show them, and they go, yeah, that doesn't look exactly like my character. He should be bluer, or he should be slightly taller, or his hair should be longer. These are the kind of things that we can deal with easily. Uh, When we start the negotiations, usually one of the very few uh, things that we put on the table very early on is things like the character needs to be able to interact physically with survivors. The character needs to be able to, hit them and then put them on hooks. These are things that there's no way for us to go around doing that. There's ways we can play a little bit with things like movement and locomotion, making sure, like, for instance, the the nurse, that's ours, but the nurse moves. She doesn't walk, but she moves and she follows sort of the rules. Like, she can't jump over buildings and she can't fly over, you know, boxes, but she's flying, and it looks great, but it's purely aesthetic. The flying of the nurse, the levitation, and these kind of things. So we have a little bit of leeway, but there are ground rules. Like, the character needs to be able to chase survivors and hit them, uh, and that's usually not too much of a problem. As far as the look, it there's usually one or two rules, and depending on the license, sometimes they're more flexible in respects to us creating variations or outfits that don't exist but are inspired by, or it's something that the character could wear. For killers, it's harder usually because they have
Mm.
such a specific, iconic look. But survivors, for instance, Steve and Nancy, it's easier for us to, let's say, create an outfit and go, oh, is that something that, Steve would wear?
Mm.
And it's easier to have these kind of things rather than, is this something that Freddy Krueger would wear? And you go,
Yeah.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
he wears a
No.
sweater with a stripe, and that's pretty much it.
So we're talking about looks, and I know there's a lot of Quentin fan out there asking,
Yes.
so why did his face not change when the actor is okay with it?
That
Gab, sorry to interrupt, but I mean, Matt's title is misspelled. Is that an issue that can be fixed after?
No, that's a ghost
No,
of
no,
Bjorn
that's
acting up.
yes. That is a ghost of the past coming back
It's
and
okay.
haunting us.
It's
Okay,
okay.
I really wasn't sure. But
Just blame Bjorn.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
it's a tradition.
So, the question was about Quentin, and it's tough because there are so many layers of confidential conversations and ownerships in this. But let's just scroll back, just use the mouse wheel and scroll back a little bit on this, and look at it in a more global way. Uh, the the rights to the character, the likeness, and the faces are all different rights, and they're not always owned by the same people, and every license is slightly different. So in some cases, the license holder might hold the rights to the characters, but not the actor that played them. That would be the case, for instance, for Laurie Strode, where we're allowed to create a face that's reminiscent or that fits with the character, but we're not able to recreate the face of the actress that portrayed her because the license holder or the person we were going through did not own these rights outright. In some cases, the face is part of the rights, or sometimes it's possible for us to negotiate it in.
Wait, so are you telling me that an actor sometimes doesn't own his own face?
In some context, it's possible for an actor to not own the rights to their face when they portray the character.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I assume
That
that,
explains it.
but that's it. So I assume, and that's, I'm not a, don't take my word as legal gospel because I'm certainly not I didn't pass the bar. I didn't even try. But as I understand it, you as an actor own your face and you can do what you want with it. But if you're inhabiting a character that's owned by someone else, then in that context, you are under you're working under the agreement, and you therefore are using someone else's license. So
Oh wow. Okay.
yeah, that's it.
That's interesting.
That is
I
very
think
interesting.
I think that we did have a question about like how the characters and and the perks will play. Like, do the licensors have any say in that, or is it like Dead by Daylight's team's
It
decision?
it depends again. Some of the licensors, especially movies and especially older movies, a lot of these license holders or the license negotiators are much more savvy in the world of movies than they are in the world of games, and they might not understand all the intricacies. So we try to make sure that they understand the intention of what we're trying to do. Let's say Michael Myers. We can
Mhm.
describe it as saying Michael Myers will be a stalker. He will stand there, he will watch you, he will creep you out by watching you, and then when he strikes, he's the most fearsome thing ever. And usually that's enough for these people to be reassured. They go, okay, cool, that's where you're going with that. We'll take that. That's perfect. And in some other cases, uh, they might be either more interested or more in the know of what the gameplay mechanics are, and they might have input, whether because they have some creative input that we are absolutely welcoming, or whether because they have uh, some concerns and they want to make sure that their characters is properly represented. Uh, but most of the time it falls almost entirely in our hands to figure out how to translate what these characters stand for and what the legacy that they've created and how to take that and translate it into gameplay mechanic language, if you will.
Awesome, thank you. Another question: do license expire or run out? So,
Yes, they do. Uh,
okay, what does that mean for a player, for example?
well, every single no, that's probably not true. But I was going to say every single contract or agreement expires at some point, or at least has terms in there that will specify a possible end. I'm sure there are perpetuity contracts that exist out there, but even then, there usually is a clause somewhere that says if something happens, then this contract is void.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. Again, you're not a lawyer, but
I am not a lawyer. I think if we can add that under my name, just here
Matt
and
And then
say
Soteen, not a
parentheses,
not a
lawyer.
lawyer.
but has watched many on TV,
Yes. Objection. No.
or has at least played Ace Attorney.
Sustained. I've watched Liar Liar, so I know all about law. Uh, but what I was gonna say, what was I gonna say? Oh
License
yes,
expiring.
expiring. So the agreements that we enter with uh, we enter in with these partners tend to have a duration, uh, and for for the most part, we either have them with a long duration or we renew them regularly, and that's absolutely not an issue. But there are license holders who may all of a sudden lose that license, whether because their ownership of it. Thank you very much. Either because they don't have the license anymore, or because there are sometimes, like we've seen, someone comes out of the dark and goes, "Oh, by the way, I challenge this right," and then there's, I don't know, a trial that will start. We've seen that with Friday the 13th, for instance. There's a famous trial that's, I don't know if it's even resolved yet, but uh, there
This
were
one we shouldn't
difficulties
be
with the
touching.
game. No, but that's common knowledge. It's something that the information is out there if you want to go get it. But yes, there are issues with some of these licenses where people will have a claim and then it all sort of gets on hold, and anybody who had obtained rights, then those rights that you obtained from a source that is now challenged become sort of frozen until it's resolved. So it can be
So
it's
it's
all very
always a
complicated.
possibility. So it's
It's
always a
also
possibility.
always extremely expensive. Lawyers are expensive. Again,
Not a
not
lawyer.
not a
Not a
lawyer,
lawyer,
not a
so
lawyer.
cheap.
Right here.
All right. What's the process for? Because I know that we talked a little bit about it earlier, but licensed cosmetics. So we start seeing a lot more of these in the game. And how do we get to them, actually?
Well, uh, the ideal situation for us is the ideal
Hi,
situation
Cooper.
for us is if in the contract negotiations we've managed to make sure to mention that we would like to do other outfits. So if we've been able to do that, and if the character has many outfits, that's great. If if alternate outfits don't exist, like for instance the Demogorgon does not have alternate outfits, we have to work with them. You're also not a lawyer. We have to work with the license holders to try to find variations and things that we can do. And if they're open to it, that's absolutely amazing. In other cases, uh, there are characters out there who do not have other outfits, and uh, and the license holder just goes, "No, this is what the character looks like, and that's it." And then we have to abide by that, and that's absolutely fine. I know that a lot of players want more outfits and variations, and especially because when you come from the outside and you go, I'll pick an example at random. Let's say Michael Myers, and you go, "Oh yeah, but I want the version from this movie, and I want the face from this thing and this thing." But you have to understand that these are all different licenses, and they might not all be owned by the same people, and people might not like each other. So it's not necessarily an easy thing for us to have all of these be available. But as we go along, as we've done this more and more, we now understand the things that we should be discussing when we enter into a new agreement, and we try to explain to the license holder what they had to gain from doing that, because people will love being able to see the character under many different, variations. They'll be able to have their own version. They have more, um, they're more committed when you can get the really cool outfit. So it's something that we now know that we didn't really know before. Well, then again, we didn't have a store at the first licenses we came out.
That's true. All right. Are license killer and perk harder to balance? Do we need to get any change approved by licensor? Like, how does balance work after the chapter is out?
That's yeah. Whenever we make changes to licensed characters, we like to inform and consult with the license holders. As I said, the gameplay mechanics tend to be something that we keep to ourselves, like we keep ownership of that, but we like to keep them informed and we like to tell them what's happening, and especially if there's any changes to text, if we do changes in the add-ons, in the descriptions, the flavor text, all these things, these absolutely need to be approved. So that might offer some more delays. But usually gameplay mechanics is something that we own. But then, if we're gonna like the good thing about Dead by Daylight, which is also a bad thing, but the good thing about Dead by Daylight is that the characters, the killers at least, are never pitted against one another. So I mean, everybody has a list of tiers of killers and going, oh, very obviously this one is shit and this one is the best. But at least in the game, we never do that. We never pit them against each other, and we don't keep a tally of who's the best. When you're facing a killer, they're usually the worst right now because they're the one you're facing, which is great. So that gives us a little bit of room to be able to create powers that are very, very different and that give variety rather than being the most powerful. Because obviously that would be a very tough conversation to tell a licensor, yeah, we're going to do a character with your amazing legend of horror, and we're going to make him very poor at fighting. Like, that's not something I want to say to people. But we can't tell them all that their character is going to be the best either. So it's always a delicate thing. If we have to tell them, everybody agrees that your character is shit, we're going to buff him a little bit. Also, not a great conversation starter. But fortunately, we don't do that.
Yeah. There was another question about when we are making a new chapter, is there a lot of back and forth with the licensors? How does it normally works?
Well, it depends, but the more the better, especially at the beginning. Like at the beginning, before production really kicks off, we love to have like a couple of the design team, maybe some people on the art team, sit with them and go, okay, tell us everything you have in mind. Give us as many reference images you have. Like if we have pictures from, you know, when you're making movies, they often take a lot of pictures of especially makeups and things like that so that they can do continuity and make sure that all the times that the scars are always in the right place and these kind of things. So that is invaluable for us. And then if people can tell us what they see, if they know a little bit about Dead by Daylight and they can tell us how they would feel their character would fit well and all these things, and then we can usually tell them what we intend to do. Dave is great at that, and let them know, this is what we want to do with your characters, and make sure that they're okay with it. And then once we have established that trust, it's much easier for us to just go nuts and do really crazy things, and then they just get excited.
Awesome. My next one. Why did we not add whatever you want to say here? Let's say Sydney, Brenda, examples. Out of does it help with people spamming our social media? Does it help you getting?
That's actually the knee-jerk answer is no, stop it. But that's not true. Because sometimes licensors or brands will notice social media noise and will be interested in knowing what is that game that people keep spamming me about. So it might have a positive impact. It
So
might.
spam me. Careful
But
about
not
what we're
spamming us.
saying.
Spamming.
Let's cut that.
Don't do that. Don't do that. But also
do not spam.
not a lawyer. Not a representative from other brands either. So it's not really useful, and especially because let's say someone who spams put aliens in Dead by Daylight. It's not like we didn't think about it.
What?
First of all, I'll put it.
Careful, you're gonna get that rumor mill going.
Let's say you name a horror character or even a horror related character. We've thought about it. We've talked about it internally. I guarantee you, even the most obscure, weird reference, Rubber, the movie about that
Oh
one
my god,
tire
the
that kills
the tire
people,
that kills
we
people.
talked about it. We
I'll
probably
have to watch that. Okay.
Wait, you
Don't-
talked about that?
The-
Okay,
you
this
know,
is great
the
to know.
Fantasia Festival in Montreal is a
Yes,
great source of really weird horror stuff. Uh, Phil Ivanovich, our art director, is probably one of the most well versed in fringe horror person that I know. And we are on social media and we've heard people say strange things, and we look it up. We look it up and we check, and we have a lot of people on the team, and we have a lot of passionate people, and they come up with ideas. So most of what you tell us we should put in Dead by Daylight, we've talked about and we've considered at least at some point or another. The thing you should know is we come up with 4 chapters a year, more or less. If you count the first year, it was maybe it's about 4 a year. Out of that, we try to keep at least 50% of those originals, because it's important to us to continue working on our own story and continue to deepen the lore of Dead by Daylight. So that's an average that we're going to try to keep. That means 2 possible licenses a year, maybe maximum. How many out there? There's so many. We've been live for, it seems like forever, but it's 5 years. 5 years, 2 licenses a year. That's about 10 licenses. We're close to that right now. So, yeah, there's no way we can bring in 50 different licenses. We wouldn't want to do that anyway. At this point, we have to pick our battles. There are still some really, really cool ones out there, but we want them to be a surprise when we bring them to you. They need to be.
Wow,
Okay.
that was exciting.
Is Coop having a fun time there?
Uh, so yeah, drama happened. Okay, we'll just leave it like that. So that was Coop. Thank you. You're awesome. Okay, so yeah, we we gotta be very, very careful about which licenses we bring in, and we want them to be a surprise. I think that Silent Hill was a surprise to a lot of people. People did not expect us to go get that. I was kind of proud of that one. I think we all were. It's kind of a big deal. So yeah, there will be other licenses, and they will be absolutely mind-blowingly awesome. So yeah.
All right. Talking about bottoms, we have that
Bottoms.
very important question.
Yeah.
Why did we nerf Pyramid Head's butt? Matt,
Well,
please explain.
Well, I think I've answered this in a very well-written article already. I never thought I would actually be quoted in a real media article about. Well, no, that's not true. I had many dreams where I was quoted about butts on very famous media, but those weren't about Pyramid Head's butt. We did not touch his butt. But I'll repeat it again. We did not. No butt touching. But, however, we did change his attire. So the clothing was changed a little bit, and that only shows the true power of clothing that fits you well.
Thank you for that. You know, this is gonna be clipped and everywhere tomorrow, right?
It's okay. That's
He's
okay.
like, I'm fine with that.
I'm surprised we didn't change his title. Matt Cote did not touch the butt.
That's coming. Like, you gave Dylan the idea. That's
I know.
happening.
I know.
All right. So I do have another question. Why can't we give information while we're in negotiation with licensors? Because a lot of people are asking us, like, yeah, but what's happening with this one? Or are we getting outfit for this? Or what's happening? And yeah, what's happening? Why can't we say that?
There's two very good reasons. The first is these negotiations are very delicate and tend to be very delicate, and it's back and forth, and it's sort of a flirty dance that you do until everybody agrees that yeah, we're gonna go out and it's gonna be cool. And any influence that you don't control, like any outside influence from fans, let's say we say we're gonna do something with Garfield. I'm taking that example because we're not going to put Garfield in the game. But let's say we're going to publicly say
what, Matt? You're breaking hearts right now.
But Mondays could be the killer. That's terrible.
Okay, so no Garfield. Yeah.
So let's say we come out and say, oh, by the way, right now we're in negotiations with some people about bringing Garfield into Dead by Daylight, but we're not sure it's going to happen because there are still things to discuss. And then we have an outpouring of fans going, it's gonna be shit, Garfield's the worst. Garfield's actually super racist against dogs. You can't have that. And that might actually put extra complications in the conversations we have with the license. You can see that. So you don't control all the aspects. Also, any legal conversations before it's signed should be kept private. I think it's probably not a written rule. Again, not a lawyer, but it's probably the case.
All right.
So the other very important thing, and I think it's even a better reason, is the fact that if we tell you beforehand and it doesn't happen, well, there's going to be a lot of disappointed people out there, and we never want people to be disappointed about something. So we try to only tell you that things are coming when we know they're coming. And also, the marketing people like to be able to make surprises. And how could we possibly tease and reveal if you already know it?
Yeah,
know
that
the
would take
answer,
all the fun
now,
out of it.
yeah, please send it.
Talking about fun, this is my last question for you. But if you had one licensed chapter from anything you want, what would it be?
I think that the one that I've answered, like I'm asked that question regularly,
Of course, you will.
and I tend to. There's one that I picked very early on that I kept repeating,
I see.
and that was the Cenobite from Hellraiser. Just because I think that the visual look of these characters and the sort of quiet elegance of it would fit really well with Dead by Daylight. Uh, but but I did
But
touch the butt, by the way. That
okay, well,
but
that happened.
but yeah. However, I need to say however more. Uh,
So this is a
it,
cat butt in the bottom right of your shot.
We're
no,
killing Justin this morning.
I
it's
can't do it.
lower. It's the lower back at
I
this
didn't have my
point.
coffee yet. I can't do it.
uh, yeah. So I don't even know what I was talking about. Thanks.
Favorite license. What
Yeah,
would it be?
there's quite a lot. I wish we could get Leslie Nielsen's Dracula Dead and Loving It, but I don't think it's an exact fit for Dead by Daylight. Uh, yeah, the Cenobite looks great, and there's some good stuff out there. There's some good stuff, but today I'll make a slight twist on that, and I'll say I'm a huge fan of our original chapters, and I've seen the concepts for the new one that we're not talking about right now, and it's so big. It's crazy.
All right. Thank you, Matt.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, thank you for joining us for this bit on licenses. Now we have Justin about what's happening with archives and also the Eternal Blight event, because once it was October 1st, we were getting spammed. When's the event? When's the event, Justin? When is the event?
I think this is my third Halloween event that I've worked on, or at least been present at behavior for, and not surprising.
All right. So, what's new this year? What's special this year? Do you want to show us a little bit what's happening?
Yeah, so I think Dylan's got some footage that he can play at the same time, but I wanted to start by saying that we're going to do something similar to last year when we had some of the event content in the archives. So last year we continued the story of the Blight by telling like an entry and having some challenges that would let you unlock the story. We're doing the same thing this year to really bring a conclusion to the Blight, and these challenges are going to be spawning plants inside the level that are actually reminiscent of the ones that you've seen if you played the Hallowed Blight event back in 2018. So survivors are going to get challenges that will spawn these plants that they can interact with. Then we'll have some killer challenges to play as the Blight as well, and all to unlock more stories towards the conclusion of this Blight saga, I guess you could call it, for the memory entry called Doors Unknown. So this is the first time that I think we've actually had a challenge that is spawning items inside the level, and we're also looking forward to what we can do with this in the future, just in archives in general. But with all this, we know that since the Withering Blight and last year's Tome 1 story is still in the game, there was no actual way to get the Hallowed Blight story in there. So what we're doing is for Tome 5, all of the original entries from the Hallowed Blight event and the 3 animatics are available directly inside the Tome 5 compendium. In the collection. So you can watch all of that right away, like this cool stuff that Dylan's actually playing for us right now, so you can get caught up on the entire saga, see what's happened to the character who was originally known as the Alchemist, now the Blight, what he's done to the killers, how he's gone into this descent into madness. We're also going to be
so cool.
I love watching that all the time. No worries. We're also bringing in, so still on the topic of the archives, we have one outfit in the paid track of the Rift that is a David King hallowed curse outfit called the Ruffian. And yeah, I love him.
What did you do to his head?
No, it's for all of his head went to his stash, and that's where it needs to be. It's amazing.
This is gonna divide the community. There's gonna be
Yes.
a huge
Look,
schism.
immediately I know people will have the bald head, the shirtless top, and then I mean whatever on the bottom doesn't matter. It's that's gonna be my top combo for games
Okay.
going on. In addition to all that, the progressive charms across levels 1, 2, 3, and 4 of Tome 5 are going to be these Pustula Plants. So similar to the ones that you saw in the level, you're going to kind of unlock a growing Pustula Plant as you progress through these levels. Now, talking about this is like the Halloween event specific stuff, there's some really cool stuff that we're doing for the first time this year. So
Like what?
So we have charms already. Nothing necessarily new there, but what we're doing is we have one that's going to be available as a login reward, and 3 really cool ones that you will have to pay attention to Facebook and our social activities to get. So keep your eyes open, look for promo codes, and then you can sport these.
Maybe not Facebook specifically, social media in general.
Yes, I say that just because I'm older generation and Facebook is my main social network. I don't do the Instas or the Snaps. Or TikTok.
Oh, the snaps, come on.
I
That's
have
old already.
I know. So, in addition to all that, we are bringing back all of, let's say, like the classics to the event. So you're getting the Halloween items. So you're getting the med kit. You're getting the flashlight. We're also making new add-ons for each of these. So you're gonna have to keep an eye out to see exactly what those do. They're gonna be really fun. So yeah, it's the broken bulb for the flashlight, and then on the med kit. Oh yeah, there you go.
Ooh, oopy.
Does it
So-
do something though? It just flashes?
It flashes and it has some extra effects. If you add it to the spoopy flashlight, then I believe you'll get the ghost flickering as well. A lot of this is just for fun, and of course you can only earn these items from the blood web during the period of the event. We're also bringing back the offering from last year. I believe it's the Pustula Plant offering. So this is going to create more, Pustula petals. That's it. So this is going to create more, I guess, blighted generators and hooks. So once you see these in game, these are the ones with the pumpkins and with the actual plants around them. So if you play a Pustula petal offering and interact with this, you're going to get more blood points. So the whole idea is play as many as you can, get as many blood points as possible from the matches. It's going to be tons of fun. Going back to add-ons for a second, we're actually creating the first universal killer add-on.
Ooh.
So traditionally, in add-ons, they've only affected the killer's power. Now what we're actually doing is, in Spirit of the Blight, we've made the Blighted Serum. So if the killer actually has this equipped, I believe it's after hooking a survivor, you'll be able to do one quick dash as kind of like the Blight's power, and then you'll go back to normal.
Ooh.
Everyone can be the extremely
Crazy.
fast grandpa.
The extremely fast grandpa. Oh, that's gonna be terrifying on
It's
some
be
terrifying.
players.
Look, when I see the Blight running around on the map, bouncing, pinballing back and forth, I'm terrified enough. I don't need the Spirit or the Oni doing this. I'll poop my pants. In addition to this, I mean, like, we've had Halloween-themed lobbies before, but because we've had the Blight coming in with Chapter 17, who already has all of the plants, and this is all part of his backstory already, we didn't want to take away from that. So we're keeping this around, but adding in pumpkins and more of an actual Halloween flavor to that. So you're going to be able to enjoy all of this during the period of the Halloween event that is coming later this month. I think it's going to be some really, really fun content.
Okay.
I know there was a question about the Blight outfits as well. So we have had Blight outfits in the past. Will there be more?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to wait for a proper reveal on that and not spoil anything.
Perfect. So yes is the answer. Perfect. I do think we had. I don't think we went over pretty much everything right now, unless I'm missing something. Hi, Cooper. I
Taking
really have
questions from the
trouble.
chat.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really have trouble concentrating if there's a cat or a pet around. Like
I'm
heavy.
giving him a little massage. He's seen
Yeah,
pens.
I
Our
can.
Tuesday meetings are definitely evidence of this. When
Yes.
half the people in the meeting have a pet on screen.
All right. So, Justin, did you have anything to add to this?
I mean, all I can say is it's been an extremely different year, or the past few months, certainly for everyone here.
Yes.
So I'm really happy that we can actually get Halloween going in the game, so that we can actually celebrate. If the world outside isn't as normal as we'd like, at least Halloween in DBD is, let's say, business as usual. It's scary, it's freaky, it's spoopy, and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Awesome.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Thank you so much. So, guys, I think that this was all for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Mathieu and Justin. And I will surely reuse the whole licensing part for the future and answering questions. And thank you, Justin, for showing us how the Halloween event will be. So
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
And just remember, if you're outside, wear that mask.
Yeah, don't be a dick. Wear a mask. Stay away from people.
Yeah. Coop's not
Cool.
wearing a mask. Stay away from him.
Yes. Oh,
Aw,
there you go.
of course.
That's what you get. But I love this beast.
All right, get a room, you two.
Okay.